You're listening to the Smart Gets Paid podcast with me, Leah Niederthal. I help women land higher paying clients in their B2B consulting and coaching businesses, but I've never been a salesperson. My background is in corporate marketing, and when I started my first consulting business, I learned pretty quickly that it's about 1,000 times harder to sell your own stuff than it is to sell someone else's. So I taught myself how to do it, and I created a sales approach that feels comfortable, makes you feel confident, and that works consistently. And now I teach women how to land higher paying clients in their B2B consulting and coaching businesses. So whether your client contracts are $2,000 or $200,000, if you want to work with more of the clients you love, do more of the work you love, and get paid more than you ever imagined, then you're in the right place. Let's do it together. Welcome to Smart Gets Paid. Hey, Leah here. And I wanted to come back with a bonus episode. So throughout this season on the podcast, you've heard me talking to my students and my clients in our one-on-one coaching calls. But in this episode, I'm going to turn the mic on myself, and you're going to hear me get coached through one of my big blocks. And yes, even coaches have coaches. So this podcast, the one you're listening to right now, it was a long time coming. I actually first announced it in November 2019 in a post on LinkedIn, and I didn't actually launch it until March 2021. That's a year and 4 months later. And in between November 2019 and March 2021, of course, the pandemic happened, social unrest, an election. And I don't want to discount all the ways that these things, turned my life and everybody's life upside down. But I can't just blame it on the pandemic because there were some other months in there. And yet it took me till now to actually do it. So why? My team members who I love to call me on my shit. And that's one reason why I love them. And a few months ago, my program specialist, Mandy, said to me, Leah, you get shit done and you do things really fast when it's something you're excited about. And, I don't think you actually want to do this. And the thing is, she was only half right. I do get things done fast when it's something I'm excited about. But it wasn't that I didn't want to do this podcast. It's that I was afraid. I was afraid of showing up and talking into a microphone, into the void. I was afraid of sounding like an idiot or not saying anything worth listening to. I feel super comfortable writing, and I write a lot on LinkedIn and in my emails, but audio, that just felt like something totally different. And I was afraid it wouldn't be perfect. I've mentioned in a previous episode that I'm a recovering perfectionist, and that's really, really hard to get past, perfectionism, because I have 40 years of experience as a perfectionist, and it rears its ugly head when I least expect it. But I knew that this was something I needed to overcome, so I asked for help. I actually turned to a former client and friend of mine, Jessica Zweig. Jess runs a personal branding agency in Chicago called Simply Be. And I had seen her process when I coached her and her team on business development. And so I knew that she was good, but now I needed her to help me be good. So what you're going to hear is a conversation where I'm getting coached by Jess. By the time we had gotten to this conversation, we had had a few other calls where we'd also been talking about the podcast. And at the point where you're going to start to listen in, we had already been talking about the logistics of the podcast, the tactics, how to create content, marketing assets, even doing a photo shoot. We had talked about a lot of the nitty gritty, and I was nodding, saying yes, taking notes. And all the while, there's this question that's sort of nagging at me. So right at the beginning, what you're going to hear first is that after all this listening and nodding, while there's this burning question inside, you're going to hear me sort of blurt it out. And what follows is the tough love that I needed to hear, and I wanted to share it with you too. Enjoy.
Can you tell me where I'm struggling a little bit?
Yeah, of course.
So one area is the thing that was really tripping me up, coming from our last conversation to now is what do I talk about on these solos? That's where I was having a lot of stage fright. I was having a lot of issues telling these stories. So one of the ways that I was if the solos are slowing this down, fuck the solos. Solos come out in season 2, right? So season 1 is just these listening in episodes. And I'm going to really dial up the intro, right? Telling stories about myself, telling stories about other people, lessons, from the world, right? So it's basically what you heard, but imagine more story at the beginning. All right.
Yeah.
So that was a very good decision for me to make. So it just allowed me to move forward. Where I'm struggling is I have these listening in episodes. I have the whole slate of them. I have what the theme is. Is it about this or that or whatever? And now I'm sort of trying to work backwards into a story. And I'm really tripping myself up, trying to figure out a story either from myself or somebody else, right? Like, what's a story that leads to a conversation people are listening in on about how, when you are selling into a company, you're selling into a system, and you can't just, you have to, there's like lessons there, right? That like I pull out. Does that make sense? So like, look, this is what I did. I was like, what are all the things in my life? And I like made a list of like places where I could draw stories from, because I was really having a hard time. So I guess one question is like, what do I do with that? I know the stories don't have to be all about me, right? They can be about other people and stuff, but.
Can I stop you?
Yes, please.
I'm going to respond to all of this. I'm going to give you feedback.
Please.
You are totally overthinking it.
Okay.
You are totally getting yourself caught in the Leah, I'm so smart and academic and smart, and I have to figure this out, and it has to be so strategic and meticulously perfect. It doesn't.
Okay.
Like, throw that out. I completely agree with and honor and respect the choice to scrap solos. Season 2, if they ever come in, fine. Your show is an interview format. That's awesome. The intros, which can be anywhere, for the record, from 2 minutes to 12 minutes long, okay? Depending on whatever feels organic to you that day that you record it, okay? Some of my interviews, my intros are 12 minutes long. Some of them are 4 minutes long. This is the opportunity that I want for you to just show who you are. Like, the intro isn't the nut of the content anyway. You're going to share the lesson in that interview, right? That's what you want people to like glean the biggest insights from that. And so when you hop on the mic each and every time to record your intro, I want you to just say hi to your audience. I want you to like check in and be like, how are you guys doing? It's January 2021. Are we all feeling a little lighter since 2020 is over? I know I am, here in Brooklyn with my wife and my boy, and my little boy threw up all over me this morning. And I realized it doesn't matter what year it is. It's hard to be a mom, 2020 or 2021. Anyway, I'm so grateful that you're tuning in today, because today's guest is a treasured client of mine. She's X, Y, and Z. And today we're going to talk about A, B, and C. And I'm so excited for you to learn 1, 2, and 3. Let's get into the conversation.
Oh my God.
That's it.
That's crazy.
But like, that's what I want for you, for your audience to see in you. I want you to be the person that you're just this like cool fucking chick who has a killer business, who serves her clients, who's going to teach me things, but she's a cool chick and I can relate to her. She's going to show me how relatable she is. Mm-hmm. That's it. That should actually be your biggest objective, because your interviews themselves are very prescriptive, right? It's like, let's talk about the business problem and the solution and how we solved it. And you give coaching, and it's really cool look inside under the hood of your work. Great. I need to know how to like convert leads to clients. That's why I'm listening to my show. But you also want people to listen to your show because they fall in love with you, the host. And this is recorded. Okay. So you can re-listen to what I just said and make it your own.
No, this is always what's so hard for me. Okay.
Why so hard for you?
Because I don't know. Because I feel like without sort of a script or a guideline or a framework or something, I'm going to sound like an idiot, And this totally, what this really hits on is like, I'm not cool, and I've never felt cool. And so to show up and just think that when people think that I am cool, it like blows my mind. So really what we're hitting on is like, are you enough just being you? Right. That's some deep stuff right there, but that's what it's about.
I love that you shared that with me, and I completely honor that. And this is an opportunity for you to grow. You're feeling into a new edge that you've never had to do before. You've been able to hide behind, your beautiful copy, which is authentic. I'm not saying it's not, but now it's time for you to be a little bit more raw. And you could even say like, hey guys, welcome to the first episode of Leads to Clients. This is Leah, and I'm feeling a little awkward behind a microphone for the first time, because people get on microphones are cool. And I've never considered myself cool. I consider myself smart. That's why my business is called Smart Gets Paid. In case you haven't gone to my website, smartgetspaid.com, check it out. But after you listen to today's podcast with my exciting guest, who's my client, who I led to sales, like you can make it like funny and like and just riff. And if you have a good production company, which it sounds like you do, you're paying them, they'll edit you. So you sound awesome. Yeah. I can't tell you how many fucking times I send in a file and I'm like, that was barf. I don't even care. Like, I don't have time to go redo it. And they edit me and I sound amazing. Like, that's their job, you know? Okay. So just remember those first few takes, you're just talking into your computer, into a file that no one is really going to hear ultimately, but you, and like take the pressure off yourself. But like, just bring people into the day, bring people into the moment. Like, you know, you're going to be releasing all of this in January, February. It's going to be cold in New York. Like, people are going to be hunkering back into maybe a second wave. Like, what podcast are you listening to that like gives you inspiration and hope? And you hope the same thing for your podcast, that this gives people some light in a dark season.
It's so funny because I listen to podcasts that are like, I listen to Radio Lab and This American Life and like highly produced, you know, that like, it's all about stories and, you know, storytelling and, you know what I'm saying? And so I feel like I need to listen to more just podcasts like yours where people just come on and talk, because I need to get more comfortable with that. Okay. I'm doing this.
Was this helpful?
Yes. Really, really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Including the tough love.
That's what I'm here for.
So I wanted to share this with you because I want you to see that even someone like me, who's super visible on the internet and on LinkedIn and marketing myself, even I struggle with this stuff. But I also want you to see that it's possible to work at these blocks and overcome them. And the evidence is right here in this podcast.